All right, folks. Welcome to another week of the weekly Manchester United show. I'm Phil Brown. Catch me at Malacans, of course, on Twitter. Joined here with my co-host Martin Walwork. You can catch Martin at MWalwork7 on Twitter. Also, so much to get through today. Obviously, big FA Cup. Good win for United yesterday, 4-0 against Reading. Before I get into that, a couple of things I want to get out of the way. Offside Trust, folks. I've mentioned this on here before. Please follow the Offside Trust on Twitter. Doing fantastic work for protecting children. Of course, that's headed up by Steve Walters and Andy Woodward, who just about everybody knows right now who they are. If you're on Facebook, like Beyond the Pitch, and also the River Irwell Facebook page. Is that right, Martin?
From the banks to River Irwell. Yep.
The banks to River Irwell, brilliant United Facebook page. We post a lot of stuff on there. If you're on there, go ahead and like that page, please. And just want to always give a special shout out to Killarney's, who the Huntington Beach Manchester United Sports Club. Always go down and have a few pints down there and watch a match. So if you're in Huntington Beach, get yourself down to Killarney's. Okay, mate. I'm going to try to add in Jonas Guyver here at some point as well. We'll see if we can make that work and get his views on a few things. Martin, let's talk about the FA Cup. United, of course, excellent win against Reading. And, you know, some people looking at that result, 4-0, taking it for granted. I want you to remember a few things. I want you to remember MK Dons. I want you to remember Sheffield United at home last season. I want you to remember Cambridge away, where Falcao missed chance after chance. Don't take these results for granted. And in some ways, it's a mark of how far United have come, that you're looking at a 4-0 result and saying, you know, it's not much to get excited about against Reading. I thought United were burning to see Rashford get a couple of goals as well for his confidence.
Yeah, good result. Obviously, as we thought would happen, lots of changes. Players rested. I'm surprised that Carrick actually started, to be honest with you, but it just shows his importance to the team right now. Lots of changes, but you look at all the changes we had, and still 9 of that team played in the FA Cup final last year.
Yeah.
So it just starting to show that, you know, that the depth we do have. Great win. It got a little frustrating for me, to be honest with you. I know we'll talk about that, and we'll touch on it a little bit later, but at some point we've got to start putting these chances away. For a long time there at 2-0 after 15 minutes, you know, obviously wave after wave of attack, chance after chance, poor decision making in the final third, a little bit of poor finishing. It seemed like the attitude shifted to it was remarkably easy for us, and a few players there fancied to get themselves on a score sheet. But you know, the mistake in the second half by Al Habsi kind of wrapped it up for 3-0, and like you say, got to get Rashford on the scoreboard again.
That's definitely something you can see in Mourinho. He's irritated with United's conversion rate of chances. He's complained about Ibrahimovic when Ibrahimovic scored in the past and saying, but he could have more. And despite Ibrahimovic's goal scoring exploits, you've seen in games where he's missed 2-3 chances. Rashford's missed chances. It's one area of United's game that if they improved it, we'd be giving teams hidings, Martin. United missed a lot of chances in games. And you saw his body language when Martial scored. It was sort of like, about time. And so it's that clinical finishing is something United are missing. Not that the players aren't capable of it, just that it's not been happening right now.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, in so-called bigger games, you've got to be careful it doesn't come back to bite. I mean, we went through that little run there of a few draws in a row there, the draws that we should have been turning into wins. It was the same thing, missing chance after chance. I guess the flip side to that, you know, as a coach myself, it's, hey, at least we're in the positions to miss these chances. It's one thing if we're not getting chances like in the previous 2 or 3 years, where we're not creating chances. We're hitting 15 to 30 chances a game right now. So a little concerning, but you know, Rashford getting a little stick there for not scoring for 17 games. But you forget that he's coming off the bench. He's playing 10 minutes there, 15 minutes there, 5 minutes there. He's playing out left. But his contribution to these games is just massive. I mean, he's tearing these defenders to shreds, and he gave them all kinds of problems yesterday.
Rashford played for 6 months last season, right? Second half of the season. And it's about developing his game to be so much more. It's not the old-fashioned number 9s, they're gone, right? So you need to be so much more than that now. You need to be someone that scores, that just does more than a goal poacher. Rashford is been crucial on the left-hand side. The kid's been developing his game. Ibrahimovic has been really important for Rashford because he's taken that responsibility off Rashford to score every week. And so he's been able to develop his game by learning from Ibrahimovic and by not being under the same pressure where if he was going 17 games without scoring in a Van Gaal team, it would be much more highlighted because you don't have the other players scoring goals. The fact is, 17 games, he hasn't even been playing down the middle. So it didn't concern me that he wasn't scoring goals because this kid still goes past players. It looked like to me he needed a rest.
Yeah, well, and he's even said it himself, hasn't he? I mean, what he's learning from Zlatan in practice, and even being slid out there to the left hand side sometimes, he's having to learn different areas of the game, different positions on the pitch there, so that when he's in the middle there, he can expect a little bit more, maybe have a little bit more knowledge of when and where the ball's coming to in the box. So it's going to do him the world of good. And I'd be concerned if it was 17 games without a goal, playing 90 minutes and playing down the middle every game, but he's far from that. So it's a little bit embellished, wasn't it, really? But still nice to get him on the score sheet. And we played some lovely stuff.
Yeah, we made 9 changes against Reading Morton, and in the past, 9 changes would have been a massive disruption to the rhythm of United, the way United played. You look at that United team; he was able to bring in 9 players without missing a beat. They were excellent, and by the way, we've just had Jonas Gerber join us. I think I butchered his last name. Jonas, how's things, mate?
Everything's all right. Just battling a bit of a cold here in Norway, but I'm hanging in there. How are you guys?
Doing good. All good, man. Thanks
Jonas,
for joining us. We were just talking there, Jonas, about the FA Cup and the win with 9 changes. The things that impressed us, obviously, were the goals. Rashford getting a couple of goals, which was much needed for the kids' confidence. All strikers breed their confidence depends on goals. They can have a crap game scoring stuff, and that's crucial to their confidence. 9 players coming in that from the previous game against was it Borough? Was it no? Who was it? West Ham. Yeah. So and not missing a beat, beating Jaap Stam, who was brilliant to see back at Old Trafford. What did you take from that game?
No, I thought that the players did well. I mean, as you said, there were 9 changes, so you didn't. I suppose you were expecting not so much consistency from the players that were coming in. I mean, Martial had been very good as of late, and I also think that Rashford is a real threat with his pace. So, I mean, you were expecting players to not deliver up to their standards, given that they hadn't played so much or played so consistently. So I think what it has shown is that there's a spirit within the team, a winning spirit, a winning mentality now that kind of goes throughout the team. And I think it also shows that you don't have to necessarily rely on the strikers or players such as Ibrahimovic or Mkhitaryan to always deliver in terms of getting results. It shows that you have several other people to play who can take in those roles and sort of deliver on the day. And I think that the FA Cup is becoming more and more important for Manchester United. I think it's becoming more and more important for Jose Mourinho as well, given that people were doubting him at the start of the season, before the season as well. So I mean, it's a chance for him to prove himself as a premier manager and something which he obviously is, but he needs to sort of prove it himself after the miserable season at Chelsea.
That just followed him a bit unfairly to me, because the people truly understand what happened at Chelsea. One of the things I will criticise Mourinho for is the way he handled the Ivo Caneiro situation, which was really disappointing. He should have handled that much better. But anybody that thinks Fergie didn't bully staff at Old Trafford just doesn't understand what type of personality he was and is. And the fact is, the conditions that led to that whole debacle at Chelsea don't exist at United. Mourinho didn't have complete control over who comes in and who goes out at Chelsea. He does have that at United. And therefore, it's much harder for players to undermine the manager whenever they know he can get rid of them at Chelsea. That wasn't the case. Look, yesterday, and by the way, folks, later on in the show, we'll get into Patrice Evra, whether will he come back to Manchester United or not, Lindelof, Semedo, Bakayoko, Saul, Griezmann, who's going to go out. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But Rooney equals Sir Bobby Charlton's record. And I've been a big critic of Wayne Rooney over the years, partly because I think that in the final analysis, you're going to say this is a guy that never lived up to his talent, the talent that he had, which seems ridiculous given what he's accomplished. To break Bobby Charlton's record when he signed for United, you'd have taken that all day long. And if he comes in and does that, he's had a tremendous career at Manchester United, which he has. If Rooney walked out of United in January, what would be your final analysis, Martin? Let's put this to you first on Wayne Rooney.
Well, you hit it on the head there. I mean, I think it's always going to be what could have been, because we know it, 24, 25, 26, what a player he was, and it just never kicked on. He went stale, plateaued, and then if anything's gone backwards. But you just can't deny the amount of goals he scored. I was having a few debates on Twitter in the last few days with players, and on Facebook, talking about will he go down as a United legend? Should we name something after him? Would he get a statue of him? And whilst the facts and the figures are never going to lie, the amount of goals he scored really is incredible, and that's a record that will probably never get beaten. Let's be honest, in today's game, with the amount of chopping and changing, if it gets beaten, it's going to be a hell of a long time before anyone can beat that kind of record. But he's always going to be remembered for strong arming the club for a bigger contract, trying to angle and move away, if indeed that did happen, which all signs do lead to that happening. But that's always going to weigh on people's minds, and I think it's that kind of thing that's always going to split opinion of him, because you say that the goals, you can't hide those. You can't hide the amount of goals he scored. 249 goals now. It's an awful lot of goals in it.
What about you, Jonas?
I agree with Martin, what he said here. I think that he hit it on the head in terms of what Rooney has delivered, in terms of also why he has some detractors. I mean, some will say he's lacked professionalism compared to the likes of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. And I think that Rooney's misfortune, if you can say that, is being in the same generation as perhaps the two greatest players of all time, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, because that's what he's battling. They all came up at about the same time, and they all had somewhat the same kind of potential. He's just unfortunate that he has to compete against two, I suppose, otherworldly characters such as those two. You'll never ever catch that, and that was never what he had to have catched in any other era. So I think when you look back at it, when he retires or leaves Manchester United, you look at what he's won, you look at the goals, you look at the games, you look at the great moments, and you'll think that, wow, this was a huge character for the club. Right now, you see a guy who is fading, who has been fading for the past 2, 3, maybe even 4 seasons. Mm-hmm. I mean, in 2008, 2009, there was a little bit of a period there where I wholeheartedly believe that Wayne Rooney was the best player in the world. And I don't think that we've ever seen him reach that level again after the injury, obviously, in Munich, the World Cup that came after.
Gear in Norway, man.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Well, no, of course. But anyway, I mean,
but you make a good point, Jonas.
Yeah.
Growing up in the same generation, the same era as Messi and Ronaldo, and the way they went about their game, went about their lives outside the game. Another disappointing part would be that Rooney couldn't sort himself out off the pitch to try and reach those heights. He had every opportunity to do so, but he'd rather, we've seen him out in Vegas. I've seen him out in Vegas, and he'd rather go out there and have a pint and a cig.
Come on, there's nothing wrong with getting wiped out of your tree and lost wages. Look, hang on a minute now.
No problem whatsoever, but not if you want to be the same kind of player as a Messi or a Ronaldo.
His goals were great, right? Brilliant. In the final analysis, I put Solskjaer above Wayne Rooney as a United legend to me. Some people have been asking this week, what's a fitting tribute to Wayne Rooney when he leaves? Do we build a statue? Do we name a brothel after him? Do we name a pint after him?
Pie wrapper?
Do we name a wig after him? Look, to me, Martin, there's a couple of strikes against him. First of all, I don't know if he'd have been treated differently if we'd been a United Academy graduate. Maybe they'd have got a wee bit more sensitivity to him. But Danny Welbeck put in transfer requests too. And that's not something United fans like. United fans don't like players asking away. especially when you look at the way it was handled by Rooney. Wanted to get away. And what was sad was his initial transfer request, he was right. He was actually right when he said, I'm concerned about United not strengthening properly, concerned about they're not competing at the top end of the market. Look, once the financial collapse happened, the global financial collapse happened because United were heavily dependent upon borrowing at that time. Then United's ability to compete in the transfer market followed suit. All of a sudden, United are signing Michael Owen. United are signing cut price players, and in many ways, United are still paying for that because there was no long-term foundation being built. United had to get all those players out, bring in players. You're gambling, right? Once you get into that lower end of the market, the gamble becomes a lot less when you're buying quality. There's no guarantees, but I just think he was right. Then retracts his transfer request. No doubt City at that time were dangling big money in front of his face and backed United in the corner. The problem is, at that point, Martin, and you know, Manchester United should have made sure Wayne Rooney was never in a position to hold him to ransom again. Manchester United should have turned around and said, look, this will never happen again. The reason why United banned and gave him what he wanted was because he was such a massive commercial icon to United in emerging markets like Asia, and they didn't have another Galactico to replace him with. They didn't have another superstar. They should have made sure that he was never in a position to hold a football club to ransom again. And yet, once again, when David Moyes comes in, they had to give him a contract because they found themselves in exactly the same situation where they were so dependent on him. And Paul Stratford did his job as an agent.
Can't complain about Paul Stratford. Don't like the guy, but he's doing his job, and he did it very well, didn't he? Look what he's on now.
I mean, he's a Hoover salesman, Paul Stratford, and Rooney's really his only top client.
Well, no, I mean, he did. It did. I suppose what left a sour taste in the mouth of the supporters was that he wanted away to Manchester City. That's where he wanted to go, or every sort of story was pointing that he wanted to go there. And at that time, they were seen as the big bad wolves, you know, because they were getting all the money, they were getting all the players. You know, the Carlos Tevez debacle had happened. I mean, there were so many things that have happened that kind of left a sour taste in United's fans' mouths in terms of Manchester City. And when Wayne Rooney also seemed to be going there, of course, he became public enemy number one. And I understood why it happened. I understood his side of it when you look back at it now. But I do also remember when it happened, you were kind of left dumbfounded by why he wanted to go there. If it was Real Madrid, if it was Barcelona, AC Milan at the time, I mean, even Inter, you'd kind of say, I suppose I can understand why, but it was Manchester City, you know, and that was a big thing, I believe.
Listen, in the final analysis on any player about where you put him, that has to be taken into consideration, and it's exactly that reason why I cannot put Rio Ferdinand in that legendary status. Great player, but I can't forget that Rio Ferdinand stupidly missed a drugs test after United made him the most expensive defender in the world, and then turns around and humiliates the club by meeting with Peter Kenyon behind United's back and saying, oh, it was just dinner. I mean, how many times when we've said that to the missus? Just a friend.
I've never said that, mate.
Oh, you haven't got caught. But no. In all seriousness, it was just ridiculous. It was humiliating the football club. United are better than that, and so for me, that is a massive issue. You can treat the club with a degree of respect and not be doing that. Ferguson was furious with Ferdinand at the time, and same thing with Wayne Rooney.
So I've got
for me, it's a problem.
I got a good friend of mine, Richie Connolly, who's listening to the show right now, who's just tweeted me. He says he thinks it's the first time Rooney put in the transfer request. He said it was the timing of the transfer request that pissed a lot of Man United fans off. They have a Champions League game, Bursa at home. Could that have something to do with it?
Who do they have at home?
Bursa.
Oh, Bursaspor.
Yeah.
So they have a Champions League. Finding out the transfer request has gone in. The timing could have something to do with the fans' feelings about the guy.
Yeah.
You know, happened with Borussia Dortmund.
You know, wasn't it right before the January transfer window? I can't remember. Regardless, it was done to where was he going to go with that time? Chelsea or Man City?
Yeah, it
Right?
was one of the two, wasn't it?
Because Wazza doesn't strike me as the next Willie Fogg. He's going to go around the world and speak multiple different languages and and integrate himself with
He can barely speak English.
Yeah. So there was only one place I was going. That's all right. Look, for me, Martin, obviously money well spent by United, but United really should have moved them on 2-3 years ago. If Wayne Rooney was at Bayern Munich or any other top club, Real Madrid, he'd have been gone, right? Now,
Probably.
both of you said something that's relevant about Ronaldo and Messi and the standard of Ronaldo and Messi. It's not just Wayne Rooney that this is a problem for. This is a problem for everybody. And now you see a ridiculous standard being, Lingard's not exactly the next Ronaldo. When you're talking about exceptional young talent, forget about those two because they're superhuman. And that's not a realistic standard to look at any kid. When United sign a young player, that's it. Is he going to be the next Ronaldo? Depay had that. That's something that players had before with George Best. Is he going to be the next George Best? This ridiculous expectation that this is what's going to happen. In order to get a Ronaldo and a Messi, you need a 1 in a million type thing. That's not a realistic standard. And it's okay to like players that play for your football club that aren't going to get on the Ballon d'Or list anytime soon, right? So it's okay. I see fans taking a piss out of Jesse Lingard, which to me, what Jesse Lingard is, right? He's not going to win European football year anytime soon, but he's not a bad squad player, and it's okay to have those. So for me, and moaning that Martial's not getting in the team when it was Martial's own fault that he wasn't getting in the team. Now he's starting to play well, but you would not be seeing Martial's form as it is right now if Mourinho didn't drop him and Jesse Lingard wasn't getting a start ahead of him. You have to bring it out in players. How do you respond to not being put in the team? Do you fight or do you moan and look away?
Well, we're starting to see that with Memphis, aren't we? So Memphis has gone the other way, right? He's not willing to scrap and fight for that position now, so off he wants to go. You can't have 11 Ronaldos, you can't have 11 Messis, you can't have 2 or 3 of them in your team. You've got to have two or three and a bunch of workers there, and like you say, they don't all have to be held up to that standard. That's the problem with the game today. With it being so global and with it being so available to watch every minute of every game worldwide, you can see. Back in the day, you didn't see that. You're lucky if you saw one game a week. So your judgment on players was far different than it is now. You look at the goals Rooney scored, you look at the goals some of the other players have scored, and you'll consider United legends because of their statistics. How many players who played back in the day there? What do we see? We see the highlights of them, if that. So it's you're talking about seeing 10-second clips of players and making a determination about what kind of player they are. YouTube.
If you know what I mean? If you're watching this, tweet me. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Wayne Rooney? Who would you rather have? For me, Solskjaer all day long.
He's always going to have that goal.
European Cup.
Yep.
And
you can't ask me. I'm from Norway. You can't ask me.
Yeah. Rooney scored in the European Cup final too. But
wasn't
for
that
me,
goal though?
Yeah, I know. For me, Rooney, when he goes, I'm not going to lose any sleep over him going. I think United really should have moved him on a couple of years ago. So for me, good signing, overrated. Solskjaer for me all day long. Let us know what you think on your positions on that. Where do you put Wayne Rooney in terms of a legendary status at Manchester United? Is he someone that, is going to be spoke about 20, 30 years from now as a Manchester United legend? It's written in the Rooney's contract that he has to get an ambassadorial role at the football club when he retires. So, and by the way, we can absolutely dismiss the ridiculous idea that it's written in the Rooney's contract that he has to start games. But I know that's not true. But Wayne Rooney, has a clause in his contract that says when he retires, he will be offered a Manchester United ambassadorial role. That will be interesting. Um, Whenever, if 4 years from now, United are sponsored by, I don't know, some red wine company, and was it?
They are already, aren't
What,
they?
what's that? Casillero
Casemiro
di
del
Diablo,
Bello.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rooney's a perfect brand ambassador for that. Wazza on the Razzle. I'm sure Razzle will be taking. One thing we definitely know: Wayne Rooney's not going to anybody in Saudi Arabia, right? Or
No chance.
or Qatar, where alcohol is illegal. No chance of Wazza end up doing 25 years, right? Oh, all right. Let's move on from that. Um, let's talk about Hull. United. Mourinho has said he's going to bring back in Ibra, Pogba, Herrera, Valencia, all back in for this game. Luke Shaw supposedly will play for the first time since November 30th. He starting to come back in that team. Rojo a doubt with muscle injury. So I think Chris Mullins a doubt with a muscle injury. Apparently, his brain's been injured for 10 years. All right, where do we start? Jonas, I'll go to you first, mate. What are you expecting on against Hull?
A win. I mean, we'll have to win. I mean, of course. I mean, if you look at that Hull side, I mean, it's not a Premier League side first and foremost. It's the side that just have hired a new manager. It's a side that clearly lacks certain things that will make them competitive in any sort of Premier League match or any match in general now, because they seem to lack a team spirit as well. And if United are planning to bring in the likes of Zlatan, the likes of just Zlatan by himself would make a difference, I think, against that side. So I mean, they need to win. They need to. The first match is at Old Trafford, or is it KCOM?
Old Trafford Tuesday.
Is it Old Trafford?
Yeah, well, then I mean, a solid win, a 2-3-4-0. I mean, they
Against Dull
don't
City,
concede.
United surely must beat Dull City. What do
They
you think,
must.
man?
They have to. They have to, and I think Martin will agree.
Well, look, it's yes, we should be able to take care of business. No problem. Home or away, we'll take care of business. But it's coming to a point you can see the mentality in the squad now. It's becoming a habit. Winning is a habit. Losing is a habit. And we've got in that habit now. You see the hunger amongst the players. Everybody who's taken part in the last 2 or 3 games there, obviously making 9 changes. You've got those guys coming in, scrapping for the place. But there's a consistency throughout the squad now,
Yeah.
and a real belief that we're going to get games done. And I can see
Important
I
point.
can see a very similar performance to yesterday.
Expecting to win. Folks are running a competition this week. If you send me your credit card details, you could win this empty bottle of Arrowhead. I think it's been here for about 3 weeks. Send me your credit card details. You can DM them to me. I'll follow you back, and you could be the lucky winner. There's no water in California, so that's actually quite valuable. We're back to expecting to win games. Back to
Absolutely.
believing you're going to win games. The League Cup was the first trophy Mourinho could win. And if I look at the last 4, United, Hull, Liverpool, Southampton, they play, right? I find United's the strongest team in the last 4. One of the things that you trust Mourinho with 100% is in a final, his teams won't freeze. Martin, when we were talking about players that would benefit from Mourinho, we said Phil Jones because he knows how to keep people fit. Phil Jones is in the best form of his Manchester United career.
Yeah.
If you look, I think it was November, and the first season under Van Gaal, United had already had 40 injuries. So, there's so much that goes on that you don't see with Mourinho that, we're seeing the benefit of it at the weekend, but you're seeing a team that's much happier, that believes in itself. Great managers will always get players to play above themselves, and that's what he's been getting at United. And I think now we'll get into this in the next segment about what United are looking for in the transfer window. But what you're seeing now, United, is a coherent transfer strategy that is, we want him, and him, not what we saw before, where we're just throwing money at people, hoping you get somebody to sign. On the last couple of seasons, where United have been signing players because lack of a better option. Di Maria had nowhere else to go, goes to United. So now United are getting players that other teams want. And United have never really been very good at that. Usually, whenever they were making big signings, it's because they didn't have competition from Barcelona, Bayern Munich, what have you. I think it's great to see United have a very clear strategy on what it is they want and who's going to go out. So we'll get into that transfer segment right now.
Well, but you look at the signing of Eric Bailly, for example, and you touched on Phil Jones there.
Yeah.
Phil Jones in a form of his life, the kind of form that led Fergie to, compare him to the late Duncan Edwards. A little bit over the top, yeah. But you can see, in this kind of form, you see in his true ability. And we always said he needs a run of games. If he can get a run of games and stay fit, there was unquestionably he had the ability. But I think where he's flourishing in this Mourinho system is he's being asked to defend. Just go there, be a centre back, and defend first.
Yeah.
Everything else is a bonus. Eric Bailly, obviously we went after him big. We get him. Defend first. Yes, he has the ability to bring the ball out, but the first and foremost is go and be a centre back and go and defend. And it's it's no surprise to me that defensive record is superb. We're solidified at the back. We've now all of a sudden gone from, hey, we need 2, 3, 4 defenders if we're really going to compete, to, hey, maybe we'll go get Lindelof. Even that's up in the air. There's question marks. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Jose's said that he's not going to bring anybody in. He said that Lindelof's not an option. But then again, we hear. I heard yesterday. I don't know if it was some Scandinavian newspaper did a report with.
Can't trust the Scandies, mate. Cannot trust the Scandies.
Does an interview with Bailly where Bailly says he rates Lindelof very highly, would love to play with him, and he hopes Man United sign him. So is it a little bit smoke and mirrors? Is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? It seems like there's an awful lot of smoke without fire, but it depends on when, and not if. If we're gonna put a bid in there for Lindelof.
Jonas,
what do you know?
It's interesting what you say there with saying smoke without fire, because that's the exact same quote as Hassan Setinkaya.
Jack Wilshere would disagree, but go ahead. Wazza would disagree in the pool in Vegas, but go ahead,
Well, Hassan Setinkaya would probably agree as well, and he is Lindelof's agent. And he said the exact same thing that...
who's his agent? I read it was Mendes. Who's his agent?
Hassan Jetinkaya is his name. He's a former...
I know, just saying what you did.
Oh, no. Well,
told you.
Close to it, huh? No, he's a think he's Swedish and Turkish. He represents him in several of the big Swedish players, and it's true. I mean, Eric Bailly was asked today by Fotbollskanalen, which is a Swedish news outlet, about what he thought about Lindelof, and what he said was, I mean, I like him. I like how he plays. I hope we get to play together. We have to battle together if he comes here. It would be great if he comes. Basically, just. I suppose he was probably put on the spot by him and just answered politely to what he was asked about Lindelof. And he's probably seen him, probably knows who he is. I mean, with all the rumors, he's probably checked him out on YouTube, such as everyone else has done. But at the same time, I mean, if you have a player talking about another player who seems to be linked with the club, obviously that seems to hold some credence. I'd expect that the other defenders would know if there was another defender coming in, given that United are coming to a period of time in which everyone wants to know about the rumors or not. So, I mean, it seems from all being said in Portuguese media, which you can't always trust, we have the likes of Garay and Gaetan and Renato Sanchez to lean upon when looking on Portuguese media. But Swedish media as well seems to believe that it'll happen. What has held up the transfer was that there was a dispute between Benfica and Västerås, which was Lindelof's former club, which had some sort of I suppose they were allowed some sort of percentages of future transfers or something along those lines, but that has seemingly been fixed. So it should happen. I mean, it should happen in terms if you read everything, if you read all the numbers, you read everything that's being said. It seems more of a case of when and not if. So I'm going by what is being said. I have no knowledge of it whatsoever, but that's sort of what seems to be happening right now. And in Sweden, they seem to be sure that it'll happen. He's even signing United shirts, actually. He's actually signing United shirts. So, I mean, that's always the big clue. It's going to happen because he signed a shirt.
Anybody know what tribalbollock.com has been saying on it? Because they're usually a resource for
on 90 minutes
factual info.
That's where you should go.
But no, listen. With Lindelof, so it seems like what you were saying, Jonas, the situation has been addressed with Vasteras, or they're going to get some probably negotiated percentage of the fee. It looks like United have went back in for him, and the deal's going to get agreed. If Mourinho's concerned about Eric Bailly's absence, and I really think Mourinho has reservations about Chris Smalling. Chris Smalling was at fault for the goal against Middlesbrough, and there's some things you can't coach. And Smalling's feelings, for me, he's capable. Like 6 months last season, he had a run of form and played well, but I think back to the Manchester derby, whenever he got sent off away against City, and cost United the game. There's always a daft mistake in Chris Smalling that comes from just having no brain. And so you can't coach intelligence. You either have it or you don't. And I don't think Chris Smalling is a particularly intelligent guy. Arsenal supposedly would be willing to pay for them. They tried to sign him ahead of United. The problem is you can't get rid of all United's English contingent. You've got an issue with Michael Carrick, who is... You'd be lucky if we get another season out of him. Luke Shaw is iffy. Rooney, United might be willing. United are looking to get rid of. Ashley Young's future at the club most likely will not extend beyond this season.
He was poor again. He was poor again yesterday, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I think that you have to be careful with getting rid of. United have an English quota in Europe, so where's that going to get made up? So I think for that reason maybe Smalling stays, but clearly Mourinho has an exceptional record with signing centre halves. A young lad that can play centre half, can play right back. The other players, of course, Patrice Evra being heavily linked with Manchester United. Look,
the Panda.
Everybody.
I love this game.
Evra's a loon, right? A lovable loon, right? We all love him, right? But
and he loves his game.
Let's look at this. United aren't Newcastle. They don't make sentimental signings, right? Because he'd be great crack in the dressing room. If you looked at Evra, maybe as a coach or something, I would love to see him back at the club.
Or an ambassadorial role.
Ambassadorial would be brilliant. Yeah. Perfect for that, right? But Mourinho's not a sentimental guy. And if you look at Evra's last 2 seasons at United, and this was a couple of years ago, Evra didn't defend. He just gave it up, right? He just said, basically played as a left winger his last 2 seasons. Was at fault for the first goal in the Champions League final for me. And so I think, what does he bring to you professionally? Serie A is different, the Premier League. I think, it has its own strengths and weaknesses. I think Evra backed United as a player, not a smart move.
Breaking news right now via my English source. Evra not in the Juventus squad tonight. Not in the squad.
I am not in the Real Madrid squad tonight either. So it's January transfer window. Put 2 and 2 together, lads.
And I'm cup tied. I played in my U7s this morning.
I'm confused.
But make it what you want. I mean, there is an awful lot going around, and
it won't happen. I can't see it. I don't know.
In a professional manner, there's no way. I mean, you can't take a step back. We've done made so many strides this season. You can't take a step back. Not that we wouldn't absolutely love him in the club in some capacity whatsoever. How could you not? Get him in the Panda in there. He'll be great.
You know,
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, if he came in sort of as a squad player, I mean, did played cup games and so forth, and was perhaps a mentor to the likes of Luke Shaw. I mean, he has a great relationship with Paul Pogba. He has a great relationship with Antoine Griezmann, who a lot of people expect will arrive in the summer. So I mean, perhaps he'd be helpful on that transaction. I don't know, but I mean, he is a character. He spreads life. I mean, he's fun. I mean, we can't say anything about that. But again, as Martin points out, in you as well, Phil. He didn't defend in the last his last few years at United. He plays in a side that has the likes of Bonucci, Chiellini, and Barzagli defending, with even Benatia sitting on the bench. I mean, he has so much protection in that side. I mean, he has Gianluigi Buffon behind him. I mean, come on. I could probably play left back in that team and look good, and I can't run, so that's all right. So I mean,
I would start him against Chelsea just to confuse John Terry. Here's a black in the panda suit. Right?
In the panda suit as well.
Hey, it's Griezmann.
What do I scream at a panda?
I'm telling you right now, Griezmann's in that panda suit.
It must be him. It must be him. Huh?
All right. So Evra's not coming. Be very, very surprised if Mourinho decides to do a sentimental thing and sign Patrice Evra. Bakayoko. So this is exactly how you replace a football player with Michael Carrick. You face Michael Carrick out. You don't have a situation where you're like, oh crap, a key player, a fundamental player for what he does for United is gone. Now what do you do? Keep Carrick for another year. And who deserves his place, has played his way into the team. Brilliant ball for Rashford to go yesterday. And bring in this kid Bakayoko, who is being heavily watched by City as well. City really like this kid, and City badly need a defensive midfielder outside of Fernandinho. So Mourinho really likes him, and Monaco are always a selling club. Monaco will always sell, whether it's January, whether it's the summer. I think Mourinho will prefer to wait this summer and get that deal in place now. Jorge Mendes has incredible relationships at Monaco. It's a simple deal. I think Mourinho, United will get that deal, learn from past mistakes, get that deal done early. If you look at the people reporting Bakayoko, they're people who would know. So Duncan Castles, of course, as we all know, is very, very close to George Mendes. Most of his information is given to him from that source. So he's been very consistent on who he's linking United with, Bakayoko. And United need a player in that position, especially moving on Schneiderlin. And I can see that happening.
It would be a very good replacement, and that for me is my biggest area of concern. Replacing a Michael Carrick, and contrary to what a few of my followers on Twitter try to argue with me this week, Michael Carrick in no means just plays the odd sideways pass and has no ambition to do anything more. He is key to everything Man United do right now. It's proven in our results. It's proven in Pogba's turn of form. It's proven in how Ander Herrera plays the game. It's proven in the fact that we've been able to rotate through through four centre backs through two positions all season long since Carrick's been in the team, and results have been the way. You simply don't just plug in a Michael Carrick from somebody out. You pick him out of a reserve team. Bakayoko would be a fantastic addition to the ranks there. Somebody's saying here Rakitic maybe from Barcelona, who's in and out over there. Rakitic wouldn't be a bad, but whether you'd be able to get him from Barcelona, I don't know. Bakayoko is much more attainable in my eyes, and I think would fit the mold very, very well.
What about you, Jonas?
No, I agree. I haven't seen that much of him as I'd like to, but he is the character that I can see fitting in a Mourinho side. He's big, strong, breaks off play, does the pass, the easy pass. He doesn't overdo it. I mean, he understands his role in his team. I mean, he's good at going forward as well if he needs to, but he prefers not to. He used to be very inconsistent, but this season he's sort of come into his own and takes over midfields in a way that you want that sort of player to do. When I look at him, I think a lot about Nemanja Matic and what he's done for Chelsea and what he did for Chelsea under Mourinho. It's the same sort of player. big, strong, physical, takes over midfields, lets the other players be more creative than himself, can do it himself if he needs to, much like Nemanja Matic can do it, but prefers not to, and sort of has a role in his team now for the first time. And I mean, Leonardo Jardim is a great manager. He's using all the young players that Monaco has. He's making them look fantastic. They have some great players on that side, and I can see several moving to the Premier League and to the biggest clubs in the world very, very soon. And Bakayoko is probably the first one I can see moving. And in general, I just think that if you're going to replace Michael Carrick, it has to be someone of that ilk. I mean, I believe it was Gianluca Di Marzio who said that United were very interested in signing Matic during the summer. So I mean, if they're now going in for Bakayoko, then that makes very much sense.
Well, all those characteristics you mentioned there, Jonas, it's exactly what you want in a 4-1-4-1 or in a 4-3-3, right? It's somebody to protect that back two, and give you a little someone to break up play, win the ball, give it up, job done. Let the other boys create, and perfect replacement for me.
I have to say I haven't seen much of him either. You need a scouting report and Johnny McCarthy. I'm your man. But Bakayoko, not quite sure. I've seen plenty of Johnny. Before I ask you a question of which player you'd love United to sign this summer, my answer to that would be Dele Alli, by the way. I wanted to talk about Saul Griezmann, or Saul Niguez. We sort of covered him a bit on the show last week, Martin. Young midfielder, big, strong lad. The Spanish press compare him to a Brian Robson type midfielder with the engine, the way he plays, very English in the way he plays.
It's high praise.
Can you imagine a midfield of Bakayoko and Saul? It would be surprising to me that United would look for a Bakayoko and a Saul Niguez in the middle of the park. Because if you're playing with a three in the middle, that other position is going to go to Pogba. Where does Ander Herrera fit in that midfield? And this is the question: how much does Mourinho really believe in Ander Herrera, or is he the right man for the moment right now?
Well, I think you're going to find that out, aren't you?
Tweet us, let us know. Do you think Jose Mourinho is convinced in Ander Herrera if he's looking to sign Bakayoko and he's looking to sign Saul Niguez? And by the way, the Saul Niguez thing is really well sourced. There's a really genuine interest in Saul. Whether Atletico Madrid would sell Saul and Griezmann to United, they don't have to sell. They've got Chinese money at the football club. He's an academy graduate. Will he want to leave? I don't know. But again, United singling out their target very early, going after him now for the summer, making sure that if it doesn't happen, it's not going to be a Renato Sanchez situation where they deliberate and lose out on the player. Because now they're so committed to Mourinho, it's relatively easy to single out your targets and go after them. So Saul is someone they want. Do you know anything about him, Jonas?
Seen a good amount of him, obviously. He's a great player, and I can see when you mention the Brian Robson comparison, I see where it's coming from. I mean, it's tough to compare someone
like a few Guinness.
to Brian Robson.
Bravo. Sorry, go ahead, Matt. Sorry. Why is that not an accurate? Is he not that type of player?
Oh, he is in a way. I mean, he is an all-action, all-combative type of player. I mean, he'll give everything for the cause, and he can play in so many different positions, and he'll also pop up with important goals and important interceptions, much like Brian Robson did. So, I mean, I understand the comparison. I never thought of him in that way before, so that was sort of new to me. But his potential is huge. He has an amazing potential. I just don't think that he knows himself quite where his best position is yet, because he's played in so many different ones. He's played centre back. He played that on loan. Oh, I can't remember where he went now, but he played a full. I think it was Rayo Vallecano. I mean, if it was there, someone can correct me probably. But he played a full season as centre back. He's played as a central midfielder, defensive midfielder, right winger, left winger, offensive midfielder. He's played everywhere. So I think that he needs to sort of figure out which role is his best. And also, when he does that, obviously he'll be able to play more consistently, because he is not as consistent in that Atletico Madrid side as he probably would like to be, because he keeps getting moved around because he's so able to play in so many different positions.
Yeah, versatile.
Yeah, so versatile. And I mean, I think that his versatility is also his biggest asset, but also his biggest weakness because you can't really lock him down to one position. If Mourinho's idea is to lock him down as a central midfielder, then fine, then that's a plan. But I still think that the jury's still a little bit out on him, given that. I mean, he wasn't even in Spain's Euro 2016 squad, and I thought that was strange. I thought he really deserved that. So I'm a little bit uncertain as to how good is he really. You're buying potential at this stage. You're buying a player that is seemingly destined to become one of Spain's integral players for the next 5 to 7 years. Probably someone who will take over in that midfield along with Koke, along with Thiago, along with perhaps Oliver Torres in a couple of years. So, I mean, they have... He is one of their bright spots, but at the same point, I'm not quite sure where he fits in yet. And also, I believe he just signed a new deal, so I mean he has a huge buyout clause. I also believe that I'm not quite sure where I read this, but I believe Jorge Mendes has a stake in his contract somehow. So I mean, obviously he'd like to move him for big money. Obviously he'd like to move him to a club where he can control him. Jorge Mendes' hotbeds are, Benfica, Manchester United, Monaco. And Zenit St. Petersburg, it used to be when they had all that money, but obviously seeing as the ruble crashed, it's not as good anymore. But in China, so I mean, he's probably going to try and move him to one of those places, and it makes sense that he goes to Man United.
Sounds like transfer where everything will be up and above board. For backhanders and a Hope Solo family reunion there, I would say.
So let me ask you this then, Phil. I mean, we're thinking. I mean, we got to believe we'll have 3. You would say 3 players come in the summer between now. Or let's say 3 or 4 players between now and summer. Maybe it's Lindelof in this window, and 2 or 3.
I think Lindelof comes now.
I've changed my mind on that because even as soon as last week we thought it was dead in the water. We thought, it was maybe going to be the summertime, but you're hearing a lot of just a lot of chatter right now that this deal may be done, close to being done now. So if I give you 2 more transfers. We say that Lindelof's done. I give you 2 more transfers in the summer. Who do you bring in?
Semedo and Griezmann.
You honest?
Now, I'm not saying that's who I would sign. I'm saying that that's who some of the more respected journalists who I know have very, very good sources on this are saying Semedo and Griezmann. Griezmann, I know for a fact.
Yeah.
Right? I know for a fact that United are after him. They're confident that they can get him. They've had positive discussions with Griezmann about him coming. People have said some contrary views that he'll stay with Diego Simeone staying. Look, anything can happen, but my own view is that that's a deal United are very, very confident of doing. So there's good reasons for that. So I think he will come this summer. So in terms of the what I would say, Mourinho said he needs 2 more windows, which is this one and the next one. So that would mean Lindelof now, and you really don't want to be bringing in 5 players in the summer, right? You want to try to break that up. And give Lindelof the next 6 months to integrate into United. It doesn't have to play every week. And then bring the others in and get them a pre-season. So with no European Cup, no World Cup this summer, these deals are going to be a bit easier to do. Mourinho will want them early for January 1st, get them all in pre-season and get the pre-season with them. So I think on the other side of that, on the out, you're going to see, I think Daley Blind could go. Another player whose versatility is probably going to work against him. Not a bad left back fill in, but he's too slow for me. I think at centre half there's too many mistakes in him. Decent holding player. Darmian will go, Young will go, Fellaini will go. And so that would be the 4 on the way out. What about Memphis will go. Memphis and Schneiderlin will go in January. Yeah. United will get rid of them now if they could. What's your view on it, Martin? Who goes?
exactly what you said. I don't disagree with anybody. I mean, we talk about this in length, at length quite often, and I believe so. I mean, Blin may have a little bit more shelf life than the others, but yeah, I mean, at some point, Fellaini's going to be out the door. We know Memphis Schneiderlin. Ashley Young was poor again yesterday, and that was a truly awful dive on the edge of the box. It was cringeworthy.
It's just such a part of his game where you're like, stop doing that.
Please stop. It was pathetic. Although, having said that, there's no point because we can't take a free kick these days. Our set pieces are woeful. One thing we do need to do is figure out our set pieces. But yeah, same thing on the outgoings. Darmian. I think we'd have to bring somebody in before we release Darmian because we don't have much cover on that right hand side. Because you really don't want to start sliding Phil Jones out there again. He's made
Semedo and Lindelof, especially if you're not bringing Lindelof.
So if we bring him in, I mean, we know that there's one or two going to go across the back, and then as far as coming in, Griezmann ticks 3 boxes really. The 9, the 10, and he can play out wide either side. So 4 really. So I mean, he's going to be a replacement for Rooney. And then the big thing for me is getting a replacement for Carrick, and whether it be Bakayoko. On Niguez, I'd be either way. I'd be happy, but Bakayoko for me.
And what about Smalling? Smalling ticks the boxes. He's a 12, 13, or a 14.
He's got to go. Yeah,
was it best there?
He's going to be interesting. I mean, do we sell to a rival? But,
yes, absolutely. I mean, are you telling me you wouldn't want Smalling walking your centre half in a big game? No sweat. I'll take that all day long. Jonas, what about you, mate?
In terms of bringing in or going out, which one do you want first?
Both.
Coming in, I think, I mean, every sign points towards Griezmann. So, I mean, that seems to be something that's going to happen. And, I mean, if Rooney leaves as well, which is probably the big, is that going to happen or is it not going to happen this summer? If he leaves, then I think that's certain that they have a Griezmann deal because that's a big market name out, a big market name in. I also believe that the Bakayoko deal, if that is something that's being sourced by journalists, that's something that the club perhaps has also sort of leaked a little bit, then it seems to make sense. The Semedo deal, I like it, but at the same time, I think Luke Shaw deserves more time to try and.
But Semedo's a right back. Shaw's left.
Okay, I think Semedo can play right or play left back as well, can he?
No idea, man.
Well, anyways, I mean, regardless if they're going to use him on the left or right, I think that I don't.
Again, if it's Johnny McCarthy, I'll be able to tell you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is true. Semedo is the right back in that side. I mean, still, I don't see the big problem in terms of the wide backs. I haven't seen a problem. I mean, I think Darmian he's not the best one, but at the same time, he can play left or right. So he's probably going to be the backup to both of them, regardless. I think Antonio Valencia has really taken strides this season. He looks much more rejuvenated in terms of defending. Still lacks in terms of crossing, still lacks the confidence to take on his man. I mean, that's something that Semedo will not lack because he is a former winger. And when you mention it, it's kind of weird that I don't remember he played on the right because he was the right winger for a couple of years. So I mean, he's a premier attacking right wing, right back who can probably play left as well because I've seen him there. I'm certain I have.
Is that Norwegian gear you're on again, man?
Probably is. That is probably is. Us Norwegians don't know the difference between left and right, apparently. But anyway, at the same time, I mean, I think we have to address Luke Shaw a little bit here because I think that is perhaps one of those players that I wonder, is he one to stay or is he one to go? Because I cannot see him stick around if, again, he's going to be neglected a little bit. And he's being neglected. I mean, fine, Mourinho perhaps has some reservations about him like it did Mkhitaryan, but is this going to have a Mkhitaryan ending in terms of Luke Shaw returning and looking like the best left back in the world, or is this slowly but steadily easing him out of the squad and selling him in the summer? Because I mean, he has amazing potential.
Luke Shaw is clearly on the Martin Wahlberg diet.
Lucky boy.
What's that all about, Matt? Before we go, I want to ask a quick question. Bastian Schweinsteiger comes on yesterday and gets a hero's welcome. Why? Because he's trained on 200 grand a week for under 21s. I train the Lapo for 200 grand a week, mate. What's that all about? He's coming on with everyone's. I mean, look, I don't mind the guy, right? But after what he did last season, when United needed professionalism, Van Gaal brings him in, and I mean, just ridiculously unprofessional, which put him in that situation in the first place to be kicked out of the squad. Mourinho saw him as the perfect target because all the players disliked him for the murder that he was getting away with. Why do United fans insist on giving him a standing ovation and a hero's welcome? Tweet me and let me know.
Well, he probably tweets you himself.
That's the man.
What he does nowadays, isn't it? He likes to tweet, and the fans like to tweet as well. So I mean, he's a likable guy. I get it. He's a likable guy, and he converses with the fans, and he tried to show his appreciation of being at the club. And when he signed, he posted photos. His brother posted photos of those two wearing Man United shirts, and it seems that he has.
Take much in, does it?
Well, he seems to have an emotional connection to the club, and that is all that's important.
I wish he'd had it last season, Jonas.
Well, true, but still, I mean, just look at Patrice Evra. Look at everything that was going on with him now, all the fans wanting him. It's all down to emotions, all down to how he makes the fans feel. And I understand it, and it's fine, but it doesn't win you football matches.
I don't know. When you're booing Fellaini, whatever you want to say about Fellaini not being good enough, that's not his fault. Okay? Whatever his feelings are about not being good enough, A, doesn't pick the team, B, he always gives 100%, right? But Schweinsteiger, I mean, I don't understand why he gets the love that he does. I just don't understand that.
Apparently, the love comes from because his missus is Anna Ivanovic.
And his grandfather bombed Old Trafford.
Yeah,
what's that all about? So anyway, bizarre one. If anybody knows why Bastian Schweinsteiger gets the love that he does, maybe it's there's a competition going at Old Trafford that who cheers the loudest for him gets the weekend with Anna Ivanovic or something. I don't know. But bizarre love for Bastian Schweinsteiger. But I have love for all of you that watch this weekly Manchester United show. Thanks as always for tuning in, for watching us. Appreciate all the downloads, subscriptions. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel, support the show. Loads of other content to be coming out of here. Big thank you to Jonas Gaber for joining us, mate, all the way in Scandinavia.
Cheers, Jonas.
Thank you. Yes. No, it was a pleasure.
Jonas, thanks very much, mate. Stop killing wheels. Martino.
What?
We're killing wolves now. Come on now.
Guys, quick reminder for you all. Give that one a read. And just remember, you guys can all say exactly the same thing.
Yes, man. It's the number of Premier League titles of Steven Gerrard. Thanks very much, boys, for watching. Thanks for all of you who watch live and who download this later. Appreciate all the feedback, tweets, all that stuff. Before we go, Martin, we do have some bigger news. We are going to be bringing you a big treat when Paul Bright joins us on the show. If you get a chance, follow. What is it, Paul Bright Coach, Martin?
It's at Paul Bright Coach on Twitter, and also follow at The Coaching Manual. Paul, a very good friend of mine, works at Man United in the academy, works at the FA, and works for The Coaching Manual.
Works for Everton
which we will go. Works for Everton as well, yeah. Which we'll go into a little bit more because we've got some things in the pipeline here that you might be really interested about.
Yeah.
But please follow Paul Bright. Paul Bright Coach, one of the premier coaches, young coaches in world football, and going to be a real treat for us to bring into you guys shortly.
Yeah, because I was sent a tweet earlier, and I apologize to the guy who sent that, asked me about Axel Tuanzebe. We will when we bring Paul on, because Paul trained these kids at United's Academy, Rashford, Lingard, all these kids. We're going to do an academy segment. Now, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and we'll bring Paul on to do that for us because he knows the academy so well. Again, folks, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for all the tweets. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to discuss next week. Let us know. We'll do it. And again, if you know why Bastian Schweinsteiger gets the love that he does, let me know. Martino, have a great week, mate.
You too, mate. Take care of yourself. Jonas, take care. Talk to you guys soon.
See you later, mate. Bye-bye. See you, folks. Bye.